Why aren't millennials going into the trades? Well, let me tell you. Well, I think our country is going through a bit of a crisis as far as the trades go. Millennials and Gen Z, they just don't really want to, they don't want to get into it. And I think a lot of that has to do with the culture in our society nowadays, but I also think it has a lot to do with how we parent our children. For example, my father did construction and flooring and sheetrock and all sorts of stuff most of his life. He was also a mechanic, so he worked on cars quite a bit, and then towards the end of his life, he ended up working for Boeing. I love working with my dad ever since I was a kid. It was probably one of my favorite things to do. From sweeping up the shop or, sweeping up the job site, hammering out nails, pulling nails out of boards, helping them lay flooring. I mean, it was all sorts of stuff. We used to have so much fun, and I really enjoyed it as a kid. And as I got older, what was interesting was I remember he would continuously tell me that I shouldn't do what he's doing. I shouldn't settle for a construction job. I shouldn't end up doing flooring. That the things he was doing wasn't gonna satisfy me for my life, and that it was such a hard job that I shouldn't get into it. And I think that's something that a lot of parents are telling their kids, or at least in the last 10, 15 years have been telling their kids. I remember when my dad used to tell me that, it would always kind of bum me out because, growing up, you always want to be like your parents. You want to do the things they do because, you see them as your hero. And for me, that was really hard to hear because, between my grandparents and aunts and uncles and my dad, I was destined to be in the trades. My grandpa had a construction business. My uncle had a plumbing business. My dad had his construction business and flooring business. And it was just inevitable that that's where I was going to end up. I think the reason why a lot of parents tell their kids not to get into the trades is because it used to be really hard for them. You wouldn't get the best insurance. You would get hurt on the job site. You would be expected to perform and really break your back for the business that you're working for. And a lot of times it wasn't even very good pay depending on the trade. But nowadays in 2022, the pay is amazing. Pretty much any trade you get into, anywhere in the country, you're going to be making some pretty good money, and sometimes a lot more than a lot of other people. It seems like the same goes for all dying trades. Something like farming. Most farmers' kids are now selling the property that they inherited from their parents because, they saw how badly their parents struggled, and they don't want to go through that. Which is sad because, if you do it right, there is a lot of money in those things. When I was about 19 years old, I started plumbing. My uncle had a plumbing business, and so I started doing that. And for the first 2 years, I didn't think much of it. I didn't think that I was going to be doing this for the rest of my life. I didn't think that it was something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And as time went on, by year 3 and 4, I really realized, wow, there's a lot of money to make here. And really, it was a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. If you're in plumbing or electrical, there's a lot of money to be made. I am from Washington State, and that's where I had worked and became a plumber and eventually started my own business, actually. And, the trades truly has changed my life completely, and I hope that the future generations realize that there's a lack of people in the trades, and there's a lot of opportunity. A lot of these bigger cities, there's not enough tradespeople because most of the people, like in Washington State, most people work for Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and there's just nobody to work the jobs that are required to keep a house intact. And so those jobs, especially service people, you can really charge whatever you want, which, not saying you should charge whatever you want, but you can because nobody's in that job, in that field, and so the demand for your services is so high that there is a reason to charge more. As far as wages go, you can really make upwards of $200,000 a year easy as a plumber. I'm sure it's probably quite the same as other trades, but in my experience, most of the plumbers I've worked with were making $120,000 and upwards a year, no problems, full paid benefits, time off, all that good stuff. And because there's such a shortage in the trades, I don't think that businesses are really taking advantage of people anymore. I'm sure it happens, and you hear the stories about somebody getting on, L&I because they got hurt, and then the business doesn't want to pay for it and whatnot. But from my experience, that really hasn't been the case. Most of the time, they're needing workers so much that they're willing to pretty much do whatever they can to get you on their job sites and start working for them. I think a lot of times you are who you look up to, and in the case of Millennials and Gen Z, a lot of times those people that they look up to are definitely not in the trades. A lot of times they're on, social media, or, they're musicians, or, they're artists, things like that. It seems to be more prevalent nowadays. For me, I had looked up to my grandfather, I looked up to my uncle, I looked up to my dad, and all of them were in the trades, and so like I said, it was inevitable. It was just something that I was destined to do. And I really do enjoy it. I enjoy getting my hands on things and working, and just sitting in an office all day was not going to be an option for me. Millennials and Gen Z are really being told, in high school, they're being told that the only real option for them is to go to college, and once you go to college, you'll get out, you'll get a really good job that pays well and good benefits, and then, happily ever after, and that's the spiel that Millennials and Gen Z have been getting in high school and in even earlier years than that. And it's not true. It really isn't. I mean, I can't tell you how many of my friends went to college for 4 or 5 years and got out and really didn't have any idea where they wanted to work. They got degrees that they never used, and it's really sad because a lot of those people spent tons of money, and now we're seeing the payoffs for student loans and things like that, and it's sad because they spent so much money and so much time in something that they're never going to use, that's never going to help them in life. And that's not to say that college isn't good for anybody. College actually absolutely is a good thing, and a lot of people need it, but it definitely shouldn't be your only option in the world. And really, a lot of my friends went to college and I didn't, and by the time they were out of college 4 or 5 years after, I was in a really well-paying job, had a car, had my own place, all that good stuff, and was really succeeding in life. And I think for a lot of people, college can really, really affect your future. Had you gone into something like a trades where you could at least make money as you think about what you want to do with your life. Here's just a few myths that I think should be debunked about trades and manual labor. The first one is that the trades aren't rewarding, that you don't get anything out of it, you're just a mule basically, and I completely disagree with that. Being a plumber, we would, especially when I did commercial, we would build walls out for plumbing, and you step back and you look at these things, you're like, the way I place this and the way this looks, I mean, at times it looked like art, and it may sound funny, but your hard work, it's amazing to see what you can do with your hands and come out of it and just look back at it and say, wow, I did that, I accomplished that, and this bathroom I installed or electrical I hooked up, it's going to service this family or this business for years to come. I think when people think of trades, a lot of times they just think of construction. They think of being, a grunt worker, somebody who's got to, carry heavy boards and beams all day long, and that's absolutely not true. There's jobs like electrical and plumbing that don't take as much risk at hurting your body or manual labor type stuff that are very important for the world, really. I mean, if you didn't have plumbers and electricians, we wouldn't have running water and sewage systems and, electricity in our houses. The next myth that I think should be debunked is that the trades aren't very high pay. That is absolutely wrong. I can't remember if it was a book or if it was a video, but they actually saw the difference between a doctor who went, to school for 8 years or whatever compared to a plumber. Where the plumber got out of high school, he was able to get a job immediately, start his apprenticeship, and then by year 4 was licensed and making top pay in their field, basically. Whereas a doctor, went to college, got all this debt, got out of college, still had to find a job that was good pay, and then work his way up to finally getting a high wage. And the difference wasn't much. I think maybe the doctor ended up making more than the plumber at like year 50 or something. It was incredible. The next myth I want to talk about is that you need to go to a trade school. You need to go to vocational tech school to get some sort of degree to start in the trades. That's wrong. That's just there's really no point. I really think it's a waste of your money. The best way to start is to go to a business, go to a construction business, plumbing business, electrical business, and ask if they're hiring. You'll start out as, a basic laborer, probably handing tools and parts around like crazy, but as the years go on, they'll teach you on the job, and really that's the best way to learn. The best way is to put your hands on the things, put your hands on the wood, put your hands on the pipe, on the electrical, and learn that way. And by the time you hit 4 years like you would at a college, you're going to know so much. You're probably going to be licensed in most of your fields, and you're going to be making really good wages. And a message to Gen Z and millennials out there who are unsure of what they want to do out of high school, I would strongly recommend don't even go to a trade school. Just go start an apprenticeship at an electrical shop or a plumbing shop, construction shop, whatever you want to do in the trades. Go start an apprenticeship. The starting wages are very good, very, very good, and almost always above minimum wage. And then by the time you work through it, you're going to learn a skill that's going to help you for the rest of your life. And the trades are really recession-proof. So, if we ever had a recession, the trades are going to be one of the jobs that always stays, along with doctors and nurses and police officers and all that. You're always going to need somebody that's able to come, install a water heater for you, fix your electrical, and build a house, all that good stuff. I think trades get a bad rap because, they didn't used to be high paying. You didn't used to, get good benefits. You didn't used to get time off and a good work-life balance. You were just kind of seen as a grunt or, and put in a lot of work for not much return. And nowadays it's in my experience, that's just not true. Being a plumber, I had so much opportunity. And although I started working for my uncle, I only worked for him for about 3 years until I went on to work for another business. And honestly, even as a kid, and I'm going to say a kid, but I was an adult, obviously, but at, 22, 23, I was highly respected because I worked my butt off. And those businesses saw that and absolutely... I did benefit from my hard work. They did give me time off. They gave me raises. They gave me good benefits. And a lot of times, you get to work at a job, sometimes you feel like you're just not appreciated. And I do think that the trades do appreciate you if you're a hard worker and, you listen and you learn and that. So for anybody that's questioning what they want to do with the rest of their lives, or even you as a parent who's looking at your Gen Z kid that's getting out of high school and you're wondering what are they going to do with their lives, I do think that starting a trade is a really good way to go. It's a good place to learn. If it's not what they want to do for the rest of their lives, at least they're doing something and they're working with their hands and they're getting exercise. And I do really think that the younger generation would benefit by spending some more time in the trades, seeing if it's something they want to do for the rest of their lives. And there's really great opportunities in it. If you want to get involved in the trades and get a job there, I would strongly recommend just calling businesses, showing up to the business, saying, hey, I'm ready to work. This is what I have to offer. When can I start? And I guarantee you do that a few times and somebody will hire you no matter what. These are just my opinions. I'm 26 years old. I was the last generation of millennial, and my experience has been my experience, and I realize that's not everybody else's experience, but this is basically why aren't millennials and Gen Z going into the trades told by a millennial. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed.